to this episode of Consider It Blacklit. I am Kim, your host, and for those of you tuning in for the first time, Consider It Blacklit highlights films, television programs, and stage plays that feature African Americans both up front and behind the scenes. We also discuss social issues as it relates to some of these programs and how they may or may not impact our communities. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope you continue to tune in each week. Today, it is my pleasure to highlight a new comedy series, Miss Renaissance. It focuses on a character who is in search of her passion and her dream job. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Enter your services. You're done. Get out.
You do this all the time. I quit. I just wanted to be happy and live my dream with an extraordinary life.
Girl, you can do better on both accounts.
Girl, let me call you back.
Renaissance is a very different, special kind of agency. You don't have to have experience. We value talent more.
We're going to start sending you out immediately. You might turn out to be our all-star player.
Stefan leading the blood.
Hey, you must be my new future baby daddy.
Oh, unbelievable. That's not okay.
I just like to keep my options open, so I really want to find that dream career.
The new job is just going awesome.
Set. 3 separate shots of them jumping for the product, rolling over for the product, and playing dead for the product. Okay.
Don't be nervous, but you do have some pretty big shoes to fill.
Excuse me, hip-hop artist security guard, and the patience of an exotic dancer. I certainly wouldn't want to do any of those jobs.
Today, to talk about the Miss Renaissance show, we have actress, writer, producer, artist, Ambre Anderson. Welcome, Ambre.
Thank you for having me, Kim. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you here. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I went to Howard University.
Ain't you?
You know. So now I'm here in New York City, and I am an actress, and I directed my first TV pilot, Miss Renaissance.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks.
Well, Ambre is also a fantastic artist, and how I know her is back when Barack Obama was running for president, I was coordinating a fundraiser, and I asked her to come and sell some T-shirts where she had this beautiful painting of Barack Obama, and she came and gave the proceeds to the campaign. So we go way back.
Way back like Cadillac.
Way back.
Yep.
So you wear a lot of hats. Tell us a little bit about who your inspirations were.
Well, my inspirations are always my parents. So my dad is Mr. Charismatic. He is a politician and an attorney in Baltimore. And my mom was a school teacher who became a dentist. So she has a lot of tenacity and a lot of drive. And with the two of them together, they always showed me that anything is possible. And they always told us that anything was possible that we put our mind to, and we could make it happen. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
So they didn't have an issue with you going into entertainment?
No, well, my dad did the evening news in Baltimore for maybe 10 plus years. So he was already doing that. And they're just supportive. It was like never exactly, we want you to do this one particular thing. Actually, I take that back. My mom would have loved it if I was a dentist. But it was more so if you're happy and if you are doing the best you can do, then we have nothing to do but be proud of you. So.
Okay, and you're doing your thing too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So we had mentioned that we went to Howard University. Why don't you tell us, how has Howard helped your career?
I'd say Howard has helped my career, one, from the connections, the people who I went to school with, the bonds that you build when you're in school. You know, no matter where you go. I tell this story, like I went to LA to decide to live for a little while. Went to a cookout for a casting director by the name of Robbie Reed, thinking I knew no one in this whole place. Get to this barbecue, and there were probably, 20 people from Howard. And I think anywhere you go in this world, you could just shout out, HU.
You know?
Exactly. So there was the connections, but also just opening your horizons of what's possible in the world, because you go to a Mecca like Howard, and there's all walks of life doing all types of things, and you can relate to these people, and you feel like you can do whatever it is you choose. And when you go to school out of state, you feel like you could also go anywhere you want to go. So I think that's a lot of what HU gave me. Oh, last thing. I wrote a children's book, and Howard actually asked me to come read it to the kids during homecoming.
Oh, wow.
In the bookstore. So I felt like greatly honored for that. And at the same time, Tamar Braxton happened to be singing.
So you lost a little bit of your audience then, huh?
The game, the bookstore, it depends on what you like.
Yeah. Anybody who's been to a Howard homecoming knows that you probably picked the game over the bookstore, but I'm sure your family stayed.
My mama came. My mother did.
That's great. That's great. So as an actress, you've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people. Why don't you tell us about some of the people you've worked with?
Well, I definitely feel inspiration from working with certain people like Michael B. Jordan, with all that he's accomplished. I worked with him on a Axe body spray commercial.
Oh, wow.
I worked with Lorenz Tate and 50 Cent on, Lorenz Tate on Rescue Me. He's now on Power, but 50 Cent on Power.
Okay.
And Russell Hornsby, who's also done great things. They all have done great things. And I worked with him on The Breaks.
The
Got
Breaks,
it. Thank you.
The
Okay.
Breaks. Oh,
Yeah.
you were in The Breaks.
I was
I have to
in
go
The-
back and look at that.
Gotta watch The Breaks. Yeah.
What was it like to work with 50 Cent? You worked on Power, right?
Yeah, I worked with 50 Cent. 50 Cent is a very colorful individual. He's hilarious, but he's also very driven. He's the executive producer, and TV shows are a lot of work. You'll be on set for, I think we were on set for like 18 hours one time at one point, and it was like, we all fell asleep together. You know what I mean?
That's great. So it was a pleasure to work with 50.
Yeah, no, he is very professional and hilarious at the same time. Yeah.
Because it's always interesting. I'm always curious how, because you know him as being a rapper.
Right.
And sometimes rappers get a bad rap, in terms of their attitudes, and because they rap about things that are so rough. So it's good to hear that, he's professional and driven. Not that we would expect anything else, but
yeah,
I
he
like
was
to
cool
hear that.
people. Well, it was interesting. My brother had met him recently, and my nephew's name is Jackson Curtis. So I was like, 50, you met my brother, he named his son Jackson Curtis. But yeah, it was an interesting scene. It was a hostage bank robbery scene. So it was a lot going on, and there was a lot of detail to it. So it was a lot of moving parts. So everybody was doing their job, and you just want to get in there, do the work, and go home.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your show, Ms. Renaissance Show.
Ms. Renaissance.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about the synopsis and what it's about?
So Ms. Renaissance is a show about a woman who all at once ends a situation with her long-term boyfriend, who is also her boss. And he fires her, which he does every week, but this time she can't take it anymore. She's leaving, and she's determined to go out and find her dream career and true love in New York City. So luckily for her, she comes across a temp agency called the called the Renaissance Temp Agency, which sends her out on all these different jobs for her to find her dream career.
So you wrote it?
I wrote it, yes.
So how did you come up with the concept? What light bulb went in your head to say, oh, let me write this down?
Okay, so in New York City, as an actress here, as an actress period, as an African American woman, there are opportunities that we get here and there, but maybe not the opportunities that we're looking for. Or maybe, you know, there's a fragment here, or there's a long span of time where you're looking for something specific. And in times where you can't find that specific opportunity that you're looking for, I thought, why not create it? You know, whenever you're listening to shows, Oscar shows, reward shows, and they're talking about there's not enough opportunity for us. I thought, if we are all creating, that will change. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to create it. Also, comedy is all around you all the time. So I decided to write something down every time I saw something funny going on. And it actually took me a while to discover what I wanted to do. There are things that I can do and things that I like to do, but trying to find your true passion is not necessarily always the most easiest thing in the world to do.
Sure.
So once I figured out that it was acting, it's inspiring, it's exciting. You found your passion. But Ms. Renaissance is the story, the journey of trying to find that thing. So that's what she's doing. She's going around trying all different kinds of jobs and screwing each one of them up until she finds the one that sticks.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So with the project, you wear many hats.
Yes.
You wrote it, you produced it, you edited it. Tell us a little bit about the editing process, because sometimes that's the most difficult process or the most time-consuming process of a project.
Right. So for me, editing was actually really tricky, because I finished this project, and even that took some time. But the editing, I had no idea right away what I was going to do or who was going to do it. So I kind of put it on the back burner. And then I came back to it like, I got all these people to help. You know, we took some days, we made this happen, and I am sitting on this thing. I need to get this done. I was at a dinner party. And actually, I should tell the other story first. Okay, so a friend of mine who I sent the trailer to said, I love this. I'm going to give you $5,000, which was shocking. He wanted to be a part of it. I'm going to give you $5,000 for the editing. I want to be a part of it. I was like, great, perfect. I get the check. In the writing, it says, if you cash this check, I own half of this project.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I don't know if that's a great idea, not knowing enough to say what this project is even going to be yet, because it wasn't even edited yet.
Right, to give it half of it away.
Exactly,
Yeah,
at
that's
this
crazy.
point. Like, what if I need to give half of it later to something else or someone else for some other reason? So that was a problem, so I could not cash that check, which hurt very badly. It's fine. I cry alone. No, I'm just kidding. No, but so that was fine, because I was like, something else will happen. Then fast forward, I'm at a dinner party, and all of us are talking about what we have going on, and I'm showing friends the trailer, and a friend of a friend says, again, I want to help you with this project. I have a friend who's an editor who I'm also trying to help. I will sponsor you and help him. So I'm working with this guy who, while he's editing my project, will not listen to any of my ideas. He's going about it like, I got this. Basically, that's his thing. Look, I got this. And I'm like, well, it's free, so, you know, I guess I'll listen to him, but this is not really how I would go about this. So more than 3/4 to the point where we were almost done, the sponsor passed away.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know he had a heart condition the entire time. He passed away, and the editor who had been helping me, who had been sitting alongside, told me that he would absolutely not give me any of the footage. Although the sponsor had been paying as we went along, unless we paid for the very end of it, he wouldn't release any of the footage. And I thought to myself, this wasn't even what I wanted. I think I can do this. I've been sitting alongside of you. There's nothing really that you've been doing that feels so impossible. Like, at least 80% of this I think I can conquer. So I learned how to edit and did it myself. Took a few months, did it myself, and then I got a finishing editor just to tweak the details, to make it look clean for the things that I knew I didn't know. But I'm like, I can get myself through 80% of this. That's enough for me.
That's great. So
Thank
it sounds
you.
like that was a good learning experience too, because your situation forced you into editing yourself, and you know what you want.
Right.
And
Always.
the other editor sounded like he wasn't really listening to you.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so everything kind of worked out, except for the money you gave him before. I would have sent somebody to break his legs, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it was the other guy who was given the money, and he passed away. So what did he care?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, you got it done, and that's the important thing.
exactly.
So besides editing, what are some of the other obstacles you've had in putting this together?
Right. So it definitely didn't come obstacle-less. So one of the actors in the show who plays my boss, a guy by the name of Armando Kelly, he plays Alexander Andrews. So right before he was supposed to come in and shoot for the office scene, he was in the hospital in the emergency room.
Wow.
So, as the producer and wearing all the hats, I'm calling everybody to make sure they're going to be there the next day and all the details. And I'm like, hey, and he's like, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, oh. And that question you don't want to have to ask, like, so you still
How'd you
gonna
say,
come?
how you doing?
Hi, oh, okay. So you still gonna come, right? Like, sorry, but no. But yeah, so he came. He came to set after being in the emergency room. He came with the bracelet on.
Oh, wow.
And still performed. And now, granted, he was on drugs. That's fine. You need,
But that
you need
shows
the pain to go
dedication,
away.
yeah.
Yeah, his dedication was just phenomenal, and it was really appreciated. So another thing was, we were in the Empire State Building on the 60-something floor, and a crane fell.
Oh, wow.
When this crane fell, every ambulance, fire truck, police car, helicopter for miles around stayed there for about 2 hours. So it was just this non-ending loud noise with all the windows shut that you could hear like it was right next door to the window.
Wow.
So at some point, the sound guy just called it and was like, we're just going to have to work through it. I do not recommend this. This is not good, but there's no other way.
Yeah.
Right. So after everything was said and done, we just got a good sound mixer to go in and put music a little louder where we could and just clean it up as best.
So you did end up using that footage, though?
Yeah, some of it we did use, and we just made the office scene as colorful and fun as possible.
Okay, that's good. So you also star in the series.
I do.
And your character, Jackie. Tell us how that character is similar to who you are in real life, and maybe how it's different.
Okay, so Jackie Sanders is a woman who's in pursuit of her dream. And when I first got to New York, I would say a similarity is that there were a lot of things that I knew I liked to do, but I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do either. So, I first was a singer, and obviously we talked about the art, so I was doing the paintings and drawing, sculpting. I have a children's book. But when I stumbled upon acting, I really felt like that's my passion. And I think it's a really interesting story to not know what that is. So many people never find what their passion is, or they think they know for a time. But that's a whole story within itself, trying to find your passion and going for it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of the other people who are involved with the project, maybe some of the other actors. I know you had mentioned before that you kind of got people together that you had worked with in the past.
Right. So the casting process was different for me. It wasn't like I held, an audition and had people come in. Through the years with doing plays, musicals, commercials, TV shows, different acting classes, you start to generate a family of people where you know what they can do, and you know their talents. So if somebody's like always a good villain, or always good at comedy, or always a good homegirl, or always a good father figure, unanimous. You don't need an audition for that. You're like, oh, no, I know who's perfect for that. So that's kind of what I did to create, this family of a cast.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's good to have like a network of people that you can pull from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very important when you have projects like this.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've been in some film festivals. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was in the Miami Independent Film Festival, and we also got into the New Filmmakers Festival in New York City. And I also rented out a theater in Brooklyn called the Stewart Cinema, which is one of the only Black-owned cinemas in Brooklyn.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And we were lucky enough to sell out both times, so that was really exciting.
Good, good. So was the response like you wanted it to be? Because I know when writing comedy, sometimes there's some hesitation about like, will the audience laugh when I want them to?
Right.
How was the response? And did they laugh at the points where you wanted them to laugh?
Right. Okay. So the response is really interesting because you have no idea what to look forward to. Right. It's your first project. You just sit down in a room thinking maybe all of these people will not get it, and I will cry myself out of here. You have no idea. In fact, one of my homegirls had to tell me to sit in the room with it because I was going to wait outside. She's like, no, this is your night. You go inside. So I'm like, all right. The great thing about that advice and what happened was that everyone laughed. Everyone laughed the whole time. And maybe not everyone laughed at every single joke, but there was not one joke that somebody didn't get. So that was the exciting thing. It was like, people are getting this. And it was emotional. It was surreal. It was exciting. It was definitely a big transformation from the crying that I had expected. So yeah, it was really awesome. It was amazing. And her advice worked. It was kind of like my birthday.
What message do you want people to take away from this story?
I'd say the message for Miss Renaissance is that you should definitely go after your passion. Nobody else will do it for you. And it's out there, and it's a journey, and the fun is in the journey. Also, with the overall idea of putting a project together like Miss Renaissance, I would say if you have something that you want to do, just start it. And don't be afraid to do something terrible. Just create something terrible and then fix it as you go along. Because the masterpiece comes from when you are doing the revisions, not from your very first time around.
Oh, okay. And a little bit of extension on that question. For young people who may want to get into the entertainment business, what advice would you give them? Because you've done a lot of different things and you've had some relative success with it. So what advice would you give young people on how to start out?
Well, for young people, I would say very similar to the children's book, confidence. Believe in yourself. Go with it. You know what you're good at. You believe in yourself. Make it happen, and don't worry about what other people are saying or how hard it seems. Maybe it will be hard, but you do what you can do when you can do it, and just get it done.
That's good. So do you think that African American artists have any specific challenges, or what do you think are the specific challenges to African American actresses?
Well, I would say some specific challenges for sure are the opportunities that we may or may not have, and looking around in a culture that we're the minority. So the people who are creating things, they often create things for themselves. And when we're looking around for opportunity and we're feeling the lack, why not create something, for ourselves? When you watch the Oscars and a lot of shows, it's a big thing that we're always talking about. And it is an issue, but at the same time, if we keep working on our projects and including each other, we know other people who are doing the same thing like us. Why not include each other, and band together and start creating our own thing? So there are a lot of people who are doing that, and there can definitely be a lot more.
And it's important that we support each other too.
Absolutely.
With the projects.
For sure.
So with that, if somebody wanted to see Miss Renaissance, how could they go about seeing it?
Well, right now, Miss Renaissance is being considered for a few film festivals. So you can stay posted and see the trailer. by going to my Instagram page, The Ms. Renaissance Show, or at amber.anderson, or you can go to amberanderson.com, and there's a link for the Ms. Renaissance Show there.
Good. And so I keep pushing this, but Amber is an amazing artist. So I want to make sure that you know about that too. Do you have any exhibitions coming up?
I actually am pushing the children's book right now. So the children's book has a lot of artwork in it because I illustrated it. And I take the book to different schools. I've taken it to about 16 schools in New York and New Jersey, just promoting confidence. The name of the book is Qualities, and it talks about confidence for kids. And I do an assembly where I read the book and have like a little projector going behind me with the screen, the pictures of the book, and have kids interact with where their qualities also align with the book. So,
well, good.
Yeah,
do you have any artwork for sale?
I do. So I have artwork for sale and the book for sale on artworkbyamber.com. And my name is spelled funny, thanks to my African-American parents. Shout out to Baltimore. But it's artworkbyambre.com. Actually, you know, I take that back. My name is spelled fancy.
Yes.
Fancy, yeah.
Good, good. So we're getting close to our time. So do you have any closing remarks?
Closing remarks, I would just say, you know, I really appreciate you having me.
Well, it's been my
Thank
pleasure.
you. I think that it is amazing what you're doing, creating this platform for people of color to come and showcase what they're doing and create that for them. So hats off to you for doing that. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, everybody, that's our time for today. We're going to put up on the screen again all the information where you can follow Amber. You can find out about her Miss Renaissance show as well as her art, because, you know, I want her to sell that out. I love it. But until next week, consider yourself blacklit. Thank you.